Our group came up with a lot of constructive ideas. The landscaping, especially, the replanting of trees. We'd like to see the local species, banner gums, the red flowering gums, lemon myrtle, aniseed myrtle, you know, all the natives. The removal of some of the trees probably will happen because they're dangerous. Everyone knows gum trees fall without warning. And the vegetable garden. Have a vegetable garden which can produce food for the community as well, which is something to survive. Trish come up with the idea of ramps and handrails, which was spoken on too for disability and that, access like that. What else do we have? The car parking, we get on stated, car parking is atrocious. But there's something that goes on here, it's just as a road, you can't back on, simple as that. And another one's flooding. Flooding, yeah. I worked in the old Shire Depot, which used to be next door, if anybody remembers that, going back in the 70s and that. And we had a 1 in 100 year flood. Where we're standing now was under 2 foot of water. This creek here, no joke, was up. They flooded Queen's Park, all the River Street, most of the hills were flooded. Will it happen again? Because of climate change, everyone knows we get the rain, it does. We've got an overflow from the sports complex up there, which comes down this creek, and it just feeds it. It blocks up down near this highway, and just comes back up here. So, another point. So, this building probably will be under 2 foot of water if that happened. Yeah, just in your thoughts. An art space, I think I was brought on to. Weaving, painting, learning language. I think that's very important. Yeah, all been. And the naming of the buildings. After past elders, I thought these brought up about, or someone brought up about the pictures and that. How about naming the buildings say after Auntie Dot, King Barrett, or everybody, you know, everyone just goes through all the names of past elders, Judy Monk and all them, name a building each after them. And what else?
Maybe the education program.
The education program, yeah, for the schools and that one, yeah. We've got 3 primary schools within distance of here, to bring the kids in class by class and then teach them about the culture as well, so we need a space for that as well. So one class of primary school teaching kids, you know. The shape of the building, I brought up to Simone, Bunjil is the creator. He was supposed to born on Mount Riddle, is that right, Vince?
I'm not sure where he's born as far as
Mount Riddle
is concerned, but he's part of the totem.
He's part of the totem here.
Of many of the Kulin nations.
Yeah, that's right. So I thought the shape of the building, when you brought up the shape of the building at Force Gap and Cockatoo, I thought the roof, shape of the eagle wings, it can be done, you know.
We talked to Nico about the platypus as well.
Platypus as well, which is made for the area. Yeah.
No, Bunjil.
Yeah, Bunjil. We've got native eagles flying around here, because nobody knows. So we always say they're creative, you know.
And Oonah was named after the platypus.
That's right, yeah. Well, we voted for Oonah, didn't we, in the wrong place.
So if it's Bunjil, we're going to change the name of it.
And that continues to be incorporated in the building, which gives it that beautiful look in this bushland setting as well. And also the staff had an input into everything as well, which you've included as well. Okay, so that's our little group discussion.
When it comes to this place, what we feel when we come here is that we're going home. And it's Aboriginal people's sense of connection, which is really important. And that sense of connection is not only important for us, but a lot of white folks don't even know it's important for them as well. And is what holds us together. And we can talk spiritually to one another, not in a religious sense, but from the heart. And what I was seeing with those questions and in the building and the design of it was what that meant to me. I live in Bayswater, so my local GP's at the end of the street, so coming up here is pretty unlikely. But when I come here, I feel like I'm coming home. Our family's been here since 1863. And they were on the local mission station at Corandurk, like a lot of people connected that way here. And I was born in the city, but brought home to Healesville to live. And at the age of 4 years old, my dad was killed on the timber mill, which was at the end of our street in Boonah Lane. We had to shift out, and fortunately I lived with Uncle Eric, Auntie Dot, and Nana, who was born on Corandurk, and I got a sense of my Aboriginality from that. I didn't even know that's what I was getting until I went and lived with a white family, and then I knew the difference. I didn't understand why they were like they were. There was no right there. Here, if I want to get loved and accepted, I just have to walk into the door and there's that smile. And what I like to see is that is encompassed in how this building is designed, its layout structure, that it considers that. When a person walks in and goes to the healing centre, they walk in, they feel straight away at home, because if you're at home and you feel safe in the place that you love, that's healing on its own. It's suggested to you when you walk in. And I think probably the welcoming area was a place that I thought you would call it reception. You don't want it like an office building reception. You want to walk in and you need to see it like a gallery with paintings and artefacts from the Aboriginal culture, the cloaks, and even something that recognises all the Aboriginal nations of Victoria. So it doesn't matter if you're visiting here, and if you're from Victoria and you look up, you can see that your nation has been mentioned. That's your home. You feel home when you come to that welcome space. And you might have a desk that looks like a boomerang and a front wall that looks like burnt logs. And that can function as a reception. But it's still welcoming for people who, actually you're coming home first. And then you need to go and see your doctor or whatever. You've walked through that healing space. You know you're in a place to heal. And so that's what I wanted to see. So thanks very much for inviting me. And Warren had some great contributions. What I was glad about Warren's contributions, when we started talking to him, he said to me, no, that's not the same. Then he told his story, and then I pointed out, it is the same. What happened to you and caused you to go on your path was your lack of connection to a place where you felt safe, felt you belonged, felt you were accepted for who you are, and could grow up and be proud of who you are. You actually fitted into an area that didn't make that safe place, and you ended up taking drugs as a substitute. Well, that's not the way you do it. Aboriginal people often get put down, they put right down on this road. But right here, they know what that means. That's its meaning. Please have your say.
Yeah, so it's an interesting process. I said this morning, I don't want to be around all these people. You know, like I always say, that I don't like people, but I really love people. And it's really good. It's my perspective, obviously, coming from someone that works here, is about the services that we provide and all that kind of stuff. And we initially started talking about what I termed reception and the lack of size as it is now, and the fact that people have to sit along this wall and there's not much room for other people to get through, and kind of this admin stuff's going on, and it's real clinical feel, I suppose, and it's not comfortable, that's for sure, you know. And so I was looking at it from that perspective, and then Uncle Vincent termed it like and started talking about his vision for a welcome area, you know, and with all the cultural aspects so that people feel welcome as he's just described. And it made me think of a recovery setting that we have here in Australia, but we rent venues, you know, and in America they own buildings and they have these recovery meetings going on, but they have a central space which is just a hangout space. And I was still thinking in terms of reception until listening to Uncle Vincent, and then the idea formed in my mind, yeah, it's not, it follows on from the name, the belonging place, you know, like it doesn't have to be a reception, although it might function as one, but it's just a space where people can come and spend time together. And so that was a large part of what we talked about. And there was talk of scents, aromas, smoking ceremonies, like what can we do to trigger those things in people here. And
whether it's possible to have a smoking ceremony inside the building.
well, Claire was on the where is she? She was on the money. She said the government's got heaps of money. Because James said, "Oh, we can't have an indoor fire," and I said, "Well, Claire's right. The government's got lots of money. How big a flue can you build?"
Well, I
Dream big,
right?
right?
You probably can actually have it.
Yeah, you probably can. And then, I don't know, we talked about car parking because, like, this is about growth, right? And already, I think Nick said we're at 17 staff or something, and that's a lot of cars along the street. And then, so, where do we park? And then how, when people do park here, if they need special access, how's that going to work for them and that kind of stuff. From a clinical aspect, we're talking about that clinical feel when you go in a hospital or a doctor's surgery where it's like, I'm a patient, I'm going to sit here and the doctor's going to tell me what's wrong, what I need to do, and it's like, so we talked about colours and how to make those clinical areas comfortable for a person where it doesn't feel like you're a number. And privacy and securities, because a lot of the services we provide are around drug and alcohol and social, emotional well-being, mental health, all that kind of stuff. So people need to feel safe, you know. So, and how can we build that into a building? You know, a large part of it is humanity. It's going to be the staff that are employees that bring that sense of security where people feel safe. Like people talk to Kelly because she's lovely, you know, like it's, and it wouldn't matter what environment that was in, but how do we build that sense into a building as well? And something that James said that isn't in the current design is a gymnasium, and as far as addiction issues and mental health and stuff go, I think like it's really important that people get that physical outlet that kicks in the good chemicals in the brain and all that kind of stuff, and a sense of well-being, and that's a place where people can connect. And the young guys in community that I'm working with at the moment are screaming out for that stuff, you know. So it's yeah, I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Thanks, Ron, that's great.
Hail with trees that we remember underwent Mary and Juniper. All those ones that passed away that were there in the beginning before we even became incorporated. We also mentioned about having at the front of the Oonah the tiles that each family can do and put down there, so when the family come up they see their tile and they feel welcome and they feel connected with that as well. And we talked about a gym. That was another thing, being that we work with so many people, and especially in drug and alcohol, we want to focus on mindful activity and rewire that brain with, you know, after 6 weeks you can change a habit if you do it good. So they loved the food bank and the connection with everybody. They really wanted to see a playgroup again, and what was that program, Baby Makes Free program, which was a fantastic program to have that done. But not only that, to have a childcare centre where if the parents of the child wanted to attend our activity, then they can attend the activity and know that the child is safe and being looked after well. Youth stuff for the boys and girls and leadership programs, education, where everyone can come, schools can come and their teachers to learn about Aboriginal culture, and also the teachers can learn about it so then they can transmit that back into the school environment, and more people will be informed about how wonderful and how lucky they are in this local area and the connection. Another very important thing was recognising the Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Island people that live on this country that are not part of this country, but call this country home as well, and the importance of that, and acknowledging that a lot of us come from transit and we come from all over the place, but this valley here is what we call on Wurundjeri land our home now, and having that, and with and learning and teaching with the local elders and the Wurundjeri people about their culture as well. We like to set aside for the menswear business and the children's business and the daycare centre. Can you think of anything else, hon?
What about the monthly lunches that you have with in excess of 100 people there?
Yeah. So we have our community lunches, which are a really big thing, and we have a lot of service providers come, and we'd like to have a lot more community members come. But we need a bigger space. Like, we just can't accommodate. We'd like to accommodate a lot more. Sometimes we have to turn away people because we get too many people. So having that space to be able to facilitate and run those activities at their proper capacity, and then having everyone being a part of that, then having community members miss out, is what we really want to focus on, and being a whole and connecting. And that's it.
Then you don't want also people who come here for food bank having to push those trolleys all the way up all the way. That sometimes can turn people off from coming. They're like, oh, I've got to double get something on there. Yeah, so we need to work out car parking, which is very important. Yeah.
But I'll do my best, and I'll take. My point was, I was elected, I've been ordered to do this, so with full acknowledgement that there will be interjections from the floor. Just to pick up on the last question, the last discussion about Bunjil. We talked about Bunjil's wings, and we talked about particularly the edges of those wings and the feathers and the way they reach out, and that being something potentially that you look through from inside the building to the landscape around you, which was a really lovely image and something that everyone was quite excited about. Also, that idea of Bunjil as a protector, particularly protecting spaces for children, and those spaces for children being at the heart of the centre, a place where kids can not only explore landscape through a sensory experience, but also through the idea of being able to take risks, be able to climb trees and things like that, connected to the interior, so they can be supervised and looked over by the children, by the parents, but also access paediatric services. So that we thought it was interesting because it was putting the children right at the very, very heart of the building. But through that whole building, there was a discussion about ecosystem, about how the waterways that Catherine had shown on her diagram, and how the creatures that inhabit the area could be given a home and their environment protected by this building, and an ecosystem conserved and protected through what we do now. The other stuff was about focusing outwards. There was lots of discussion about what what Oonah could mean to its wider community. So how activities such as social enterprise could combine training and other things that could be part of the tucker bag and so forth, but also be something that is part of the enterprise out from the organisation. What else do we have? The conferencing.
Yes, conferencing, training, programs.
Hydrotherapy stores.
I was going to deliver that at the last. It's the hydrotherapy course.
We had massage.
The route through the wingtips. The hydrotherapy one was interesting though because it was seen as being something that a lot of members of the community can get a lot of benefit from. So, you know, it wasn't just the kind of put the water slide in idea, it was really something that came from, you know, people reflecting on how that would be a wonderful facility to have. That drawing there was quite nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bungalow over and the platypus under.
Using the water as a natural and peaceful
As,
space.
yeah, as an accompaniment.
Yeah.
So, you know, where you are in the building, that the water is part of that.
The sound.
The sound of water, the light of it, as a way of having that kind of comfortable experience, that welcoming, comfortable experience, places to sit while you're at Oonah for something else, or while you're waiting, you could kind of enjoy that ecosystem.
And
And
a lot about the wet and dry landscape, and having plants for both, and natural materials, whether it's mud brick or earth or those sorts of things as well in terms of construction. What about shift the building away from the trees?
yeah, that was about making use of the space on this side as much as possible to retain some of the key trees that are on this side. Yeah.
Water play for the kids as well, so a lot about water.
A lot about water.
Yeah, water.
Anything else that we missed?
The glass roof to see the trees.
A lot of curves.
You were talking, there was a particular image that we showed of, it's a little holiday building in Tasmania, but that idea of a space that is curved, that's been welcoming and whole, rather than something that is sort of angular and I think someone said Germanic or something.
So it's the winery that's on the way here, on the right hand side, how like it's got this curved shape and it just draws your eye to it. It's just
About the idea of emerging from landscape, relating to the landscape around us and also the space that it creates.
And some elements being very visible to everyone, the social enterprise and the health services being more private and for community. So as you flow through the sites, more for general public, as you've got a cafe and maybe art spaces and that sort of thing. But then the community spaces are more at the back of the site, so that privacy is maintained.
That was a key thing about saying there could be two faces to it. A face that's very outward about inviting people in, and then a space that's for community and welcoming them in, and then allowing them to kind of move to more private spaces for health and consultation activities.
And we did speak about accessibility, for people with disability as well.
Absolutely.
But also working with the land the way it is now, like taking into consideration more of the water from off the roof.
Water off the roof and then through the site to the
So
we want to get
avoid
platypuses
flooding.
back. That's our long-term plan.
Talking about rehabilitating the creek and connecting with traditional land management, people who know about traditional land management techniques that can be training people up from the community to look after the creek and that there can be a better relationship between the creek and the building.
So, that's thank you so much everyone for coming along today. It's wonderful to see such a great turnout and such a cross section of the community and to meet a whole lot of you that we haven't met before, and we hope to see you again on several occasions, like through the process. Not to mention at the end when we get government to stump up the money and we get it built, whatever we come up with at the end of it. So that's fantastic. And it went really super well this morning, and like we're really thankful of everybody's input. And and we'll be in touch. Yeah, we'll start working, and we'll come back with where we think that it can start to develop from this point. Yes.
I just want to make one more suggestion. It came to me when everybody else was giving their talks. It's amazing how similar some of the talks were. It's been mentioned there's been flooding, car park has been perhaps an issue. Use of the creek at the back, I knew it ran there, but I've never seen it. It might be a nice feature. Also that there's a drop. I never realised there was a 3 metre drop. We're talking 9 feet. Is it possible that to get visibility, that maybe one of the back buildings could be higher off the ground, where you, but given a platform from inside the building where you can look out onto the creek and look out into that area. So if elders prefer to go upstairs, I don't know if it'd be upstairs or how you do it, and be able to look out over the ceremonial grounds, I think would be good. Particularly if the weather's not so good, and they want to stay inside close to the cockatoo, they could do that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there could be a small undercover car space for a few cars to take the pressure off what's outside there. And perhaps, as you've already got a road going down to the car park, it would be fairly easy to have something underneath the back end of the building. It would get it out of the flood region, perhaps. I don't know, but it's just a consideration that may or may not be of use, and I just thought I'd mention it, seeing as how there are a lot of linking factors that might make it a good idea.
If you keep coming up with ideas, you're more than welcome to fill out our community feedback form, and we can keep relaying that information to Workshop Architecture
Keep sending
and
through
keep the
it.
conversations going.
Yeah. Because often, wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh, I wish I'd mentioned that. Send it through.
And also,
we may not respond until about 8:30 the next morning.
And there were a lot of suggestions about programs that could be run, and where we will then also sort of ferry those back to Oonah for development of their sort of schedule. But they were really, really valuable, and they can actually sort of potentially feed back into the brief, which is really good. All right.